All right, you guys. Well, howdy.
Howdy.
Good to hear, actually, that howdy back at us. It makes us feel like home. So, like they mentioned yesterday, that makes y'all honorary Aggies. I'm sorry to everybody from Austin. You get to be Aggies today. So, who I am, I think, is where I wanted to start with you today. So, I am Erin Kimbrough. I'm a program manager with AgriLife Extension Service. Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. And we're a program that started back in about 2012 with a one-day workshop developed with some of our amazing partners. Miss Melissa Blair down here taking my picture was one of those amazing people who really believed in the efforts of veterans in agriculture and why it's important, and that so many of our veterans are returning to rural areas where unemployment was high. And so a lot of them wanted to get back into farming and ranching, but there wasn't a real good way to do that, especially if you had been off the farms and ranches for a considerable amount of time. So started with this one-day workshop and built on that, and it's become this amazing program that it is today. And so I wanted to tell you a little bit just about me personally. So I am a Christian. We believe in a life of service. So I am a wife of a Marine. Got to hear from him a lot yesterday. We have 4 wonderful, beautiful children who help us out on the farm as much as they can anyway. And we are co-owners of our farm called Growing on Faith. And we raise grass-fed beef, goats, sheep, and we had chickens until we had a bobcat, and now we don't have chickens, but we'll get back into chickens hopefully pretty soon. So our holistic goal, and if you're not familiar with Holistic Management International, they're a group of folks that I really recommend. They believe in not just helping you farm, they believe in helping you be more successful as a person, and that benefits your farm, because they really talk a lot about quality of life. So thankfully, y'all all have somebody probably at home feeding critters, turn on and off the water, making sure pipes don't freeze, those kinds of things, so that you can have a quality of life that allows you to come to things like this. So holistic management really focuses a lot on that. And so our holistic goal is to create a lifestyle of selfless service and hard work, where we as a family live, learn, and grow. So we do that through a lot of different ways. We do workshops through our job, but we also do workshops on our farms, and really believe that's the best way to get to know one another, to get to be part of a family. And as part of that, y'all are all family, and y'all are welcome to our ranches, our farms anytime. So one thing I wanted to explain, and what gets a little bit confusing, is AgriLife Extension. Are you guys all a little bit familiar with AgriLife Extension or Extension in your counties? Yeah? You go to different kinds of programs they host, visit with your agents and that kind of stuff? Kinda? That chirping, that's perfect. Yes, a lot of folks have no idea what Extension is, what they do, why they're there. That's perfect. Perfect timing. So here in Texas, the land-grant university is Texas A&M. So as Texas A&M, they're over the AgriLife Extension Service. So that's why we're now called Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. So if you see AgriLife in your counties, it's all part of the university system. So we have county agents. We have over 300 county agents. But for Extension as a whole, we have about 1,300 employees. We have employees in programs that do military family caregiving. They do 4-H. They do diabetes education. They do statewide alcohol awareness. They do about every kind of specialist and every kind of agriculture you can imagine. We have specialists for that. So they do programs all over, really all over the state, but we also now send agents across the world to help people in usually developing countries learn how to farm and ranch better in order to feed their populations. So if you're not familiar with Extension, I highly encourage you to get part of your counties, and especially those county committees. Your county agents are run by you. They're run by your committees that you get to be a part of. And the programs that they bring into your counties, like Master Gardeners, the Beef Cattle 101, all of those programs, those are requested by your committees. So if you're not involved on your committees, and a lot of extensions in a lot of different states operate the same way, they don't know what your needs are. They don't know that you need more education in soils or pasture management or herd health. And so get on those committees and tell them what you need. Tell them to bring those programs to you so you don't have to travel all across the state to do that. And for beef cattle producers, if you haven't heard of the Beef Cattle Short Course that happens the first week of August, it is the largest gathering of beef cattle producers in the world. They bring in, I think it's over 2,000 producers meet in College Station every year to learn about beef cattle production. So it is an amazing experience. We learn about everything from genetics to terminology. So it's a really great conference, like I said, 3-day conference in College Station. And as family, y'all are always welcome to give us a shout. We'd love to go with you or put you up. We've got a house, we live in College Station, so y'all can come stay with us. So what they want to talk today is about the Battleground program. So the Battleground program, we started, like Michael said, probably about 2012, that one-day workshop. It was great. We educated a lot of veterans and their families, other beginning farmer ranchers. I think we're over 1,500 since 2012. We do about 6 of those workshops across the state every year. The only problem is it's a one-day workshop. We teach you about business planning and business ideas, funding resources through our different agencies and partners, but there's not a lot you can learn in a day. It is drinking from a fire hose. It really is. But we want you to continue to come back through those workshops, and recognizing that there was a shortfall in the education that we could provide you past that workshop, we developed the Battleground program. So we developed it into a 3-phase program. Phase 1 is that one-day workshop. Phase 2 is now an application process, and we'll build your business plan. Over 16 weeks, you'll work with our ag economist. It's all online courses, and you build a business plan, you turn that in, you get feedback, you build it better, but it becomes not only your business plan, it's a management plan. So we do talk a lot about your financial statements and those kinds of things, but we also talk about how are you gonna operate? Who do you need for your regulations? How are you gonna structure your operation? Are you gonna have partnerships? Are you gonna be an LLC? All those kinds of things, we do that education. So, and take 16 weeks, your business plan becomes your application to phase 3. Phase 3 is our hands-on learning. So one thing I learned, I have my degree from Texas A&M in agriculture education. I've got a strong background in animal science, and one thing I recognized was that with that degree, thought I would have, get out of A&M and I would have all this experience with livestock. Right? Animal science, livestock. We had our hands-on livestock for 1 week out of my 2-year degree. So when you get in the field, I don't know about y'all, if you've recognized that what comes out on paper and what actually happens in real life, far different. So getting out there and actually learning how that's supposed to work is something that's really important to us. So one thing, I think the last thing I want to tell you before I introduce some really amazing folks to tell you about the program from their perspective is that we wrote a Beginning Farmer Rancher Development Grant, and we're funded, thankfully, by USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture to develop the program into those 3 phases. We planned for 360 people over 3 years to attend phase 1. We just ended the project, or that grant funding ran out in August. So out of 360 that we planned for, we had 572 attend the one-day workshop. We planned for 48 hands-on learning opportunities for people in phase 3 to get those hours. And we actually ended up hosting 80 across the state. And we planned for 240 people to attend. We had 1,034 participants come to hands-on learning opportunities. So amazing. And we couldn't have done that without some really great people. And you'll get to hear from Steve in just a little bit. But Farmers Assisting Returning Military out of Dallas did a lot of that work with us. Our training farm down in Nixon, Mesquite Field Farm, did a lot of that as well. So I would encourage you, if you're thinking about training other veterans, get them that hands-on experience. A lot of times that's what they're missing. So we can do online courses all day long in business planning. I can teach you some about livestock production or horticulture through an online course, but there's nothing like getting your hands on it. So if you're willing to open up your farms and ranches to teach them, let them get that experience, it's something that a lot of folks are interested in. So first, I want to introduce you to Miss Heidi Barber. She's a graduate from Cohort 4. We're actually fixing to go in Cohort 7, and she is actually a graduate. Farm Service Agency came to us, I think it was 2015, and asked us to put together a program that would streamline eligibility and make it easier for our veterans to get access to funding through their agency. We put that together, and Miss Heidi and Ray applied for that. Were successful in getting into that program, and then graduated. So with the first and only cohort, that was the pilot program through Farm Service Agency's streamlined eligibility program. And so I'll let her talk a little bit more about what she does and a little bit about the program from her perspective. All right, sister.
Thank you, Aaron. Kind of give you a little bit of background. Myself and my husband retired from the military, from the Army. He retired in 2011, and I retired in 2012. And probably like a lot of you out there, we sit there and go, okay, so now what are we going to do? We originally started doing some training that would have taken us into oil field work. And by the time we got done with the training, that's when the oil field started tanking, going downhill on the job opportunities. So then we were back to square one going, well, that didn't work. So the next thing we just looked at and kind of decided to do was over-the-road truck driving. We went to school up in Elmont with ATDS, and we went on from there. Once we graduated with that, with our CDLs, went up to Warner and drove as team drivers over the road and hit pretty much every state in the continental states. Don't like the Northeast. Driving a truck, that's just a big pain. Don't like it. So we did that for just a little over 4 years. We actually, for about the last year and a half, were owner-operators. We had bought our own truck, brand new truck, and probably would still be doing that if we hadn't had what we consider $1 million accident. We probably shouldn't have walked away from the accident. Everybody knows in Texas we have a lot of oil field, and we have a lot of cliche and oil field, and road work and rain just tend not to mix very well. We hydroplaned the truck. The only thing that probably kept the truck from actually rolling over at the time was the fact that as it jackknifed, the airlines were cut, and so the tractor trailer, the brakes on it locked and actually started slowing us down and kept the front of the truck going relatively straight. We did cross over on the road. Luckily, we didn't hit anybody in that. And we took out probably about 1/8 mile of fence line, which how we didn't end up hitting something a little more solid than just rotted wood posts, we're lucky, because that probably would have finished tipping over the truck at the time. So after that, we came back. He got a job with the city of Copper's Cove, driving trash trucks. And I ended up going working for Home Depot, but we weren't very happy with what we were doing. So we started looking, and friends of ours, they kind of nudged us into buying some horses. And after that, we kind of started thinking, well, this ain't too bad. Why don't we think about maybe trying to find some land so we can actually raise some animals and actually get out and start working for ourselves again instead of having to work for other people. But with doing that, I didn't want to jump into it just cold turkey. Yeah, I'd grown up doing a little bit of 4-H and around big ranches, but that was 35 plus years ago. And knowledge and technology has changed in those 35 years dealing with ranching and farming. So I went back to school, Central Texas College, and got my associates in animal science and equine management. Equine management is more so that I could just work better with my own horses. The other part is so that I could have more up-to-date knowledge for going out and trying to start a ranch. And then we found the Battleground program. And yes, like she said, the first couple of times we went to the business workshop, it's information overload. It's like a fire hose being fired at you. And a couple of things stick. And you're like, okay, let me go research that. And then it's like, okay, there's some more stuff that should be in here. What did we miss? So we went back to another one. Hey, more stuff sticks. And then we actually applied and got accepted into the program. I like the way the business plan section of it gets broken down, because they break it down into small chunks. It makes it easy for you to do the research instead of trying to go out and do it all at once and get lost in the sauce doing it. It's 16 weeks, and with the comments back from the ag economist that they have, Greg Clary, that goes through and looks at them, and he makes suggestions. Hey, this doesn't make sense. Why are you doing that? Or, hey, that's a good idea. You might want to expand on it. And we got through our business plan. At this point, we need to go back and do some touch-up revisions on it, because we have actually gotten started, even though it's on an acre. We have 15 sheep currently. But we probably wouldn't have gotten them if we hadn't been through the hands-on portion of it. Because, yeah, I've been around animals. I like animals. I've worked with them a little bit. But as far as being able to feel comfortable to take care of and doctor them when they have issues, they get sick, they get pink eye, or they're in the middle of lambing and need to take take the lambs after birth and castrate them if need be, or dock tails or that kind of stuff. It's like, it might be a little daunting. And I don't necessarily want to always have to call the vet out, because that gets a little pricey. So I really appreciate the mentor that I found. He raises sheep and is a retired ag teacher. And he taught us a lot about the sheep and things to look out for as we're raising them. And so now we have our sheep. We're still trying to find our land, because around Copper's Cove you have two problems. You have a lot of rock, and they want a lot of money for that rock that you really can't do anything with. So we're still looking for our land. We do have the 15 sheep. We're using kind of a dry lot system for them now. And I'm just really thankful that this kind of a program existed, because it definitely got us started, I think, on the right track, and has us set up so that we should be able to succeed, as long as we don't get crazy ideas and we can curb those, oh, hey, look, that tractor's nice and shiny. I want that right now, and I really can't afford it. So,
Thanks to the business plan.
yeah, that goes back to the business plan part of it, but you got to learn to have a little bit of control sometimes. Don't drink and go decide you're going to buy the tractor, because that'd probably end up with the tractor bigger than you need. So, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and attending the conference, and wish everybody a good day.
Yeah, Heidi and Ray are real near and dear to my heart. They've done a lot of work for people in the program. So for my birthday last year, they did a workshop and presented me with a handmade working stanchion for my goats. It's got engraved my name, our farm's name in it, and it's gorgeous. We're so grateful for all that they do. And Heidi continues to thankfully put up with me and accepted the farm manager position on our training farm outside Fort Hood. So yeah, we're excited. So we really believe that the best people to teach each other are veterans with inside the program and folks who have been through it before, because I can't tell you it from the same side. I've been through it because we wrote the program, but it's different. So one thing that they added to the program, Dr. Rick Peterson, one of our directors, is a big proponent of mental health. And I'm as bad as my husband is about taking care of myself. I like to take care of everybody else, right? And when he was talking about adding in a wraparound service on mental health through a coaching organization called Vet Advisors, I was pretty opposed to it. I was like, nah, we don't need mental health. We'll just focus on their farms and ranches. But what I've learned is that component of that program is so important to continue to help. But they don't just do help mental health. They do other things like coaching through finances, through careers, through working with the VA, lots of different things. So, Michael, how were you doing on time? Doing good. All right. So I want to let Chris and Theta come up. They are graduates from our cohort 3. and let them tell you a little bit about the additional wraparound services that we do through the Battleground program and how impactful that is. I gotta be honest, I hate Facebook. I really do not like social media at all, and it's mostly because I usually screw it up when I get on there. But I look forward, it's the only thing I look forward to on Facebook is posts from Chris on all the crazy things he does on their operation. And just their story and the things that they've overcome is incredible. So if you'll join me, give them a round of applause, and we'll let them tell you about their story.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Chris. This is my beautiful wife, Theta. We have a small operation up in Sulphur Springs, Texas. I'm going to go against the norm here in Texas, so please don't throw nothing at me. Don't pull out your guns. Don't shoot me. But I do not raise cattle. I raise bison. So I know that's a little weird being in Texas and being from Texas. So don't hold that against me. But both of us, we're both veterans. We did a couple years in the military each. We decided, hey, we're going to take a step back. We're going to do something else, you know. We didn't want to work for other people. We originally wanted a bed and breakfast. Well, that gets expensive. You got to deal with people. You know what? We don't want to do that, right? I grew up in an agricultural background. I turned 17. I knew it. I knew everything I needed to know, you know. I left a small town. I went to the military, never looked back. Seen a lot of, you know, deconstructive things in the military. Got out and said, you know what? I want to do some constructive stuff. So we got us a small piece of land up there in Sulphur Springs. We started working, and I had a business plan. One day it was here, next day it was there, other day it was over there. That's how my operation was. It was all over the place. I was going somewhere, but I didn't know how or where I was getting there. We were keeping our head above water. We weren't in debtor's prison, and we weren't out making, we'll call them unnecessary purchases. Right now we have 60 acres. I've got 15 head of bison. I run 20 pigs. I run upwards of 1,200 chickens. We have a seasonal high tunnel. I do not own a tractor. So that's a lot of manual work. So we barter for a lot of our services. That's a skill you learned in the military. So every year I'll raise up 2 pigs, and that'll get me 100 hours of tractor service from a neighbor's tractor. So that's what we do. We had, through the Battleground or Breaking Ground, we were able to take my business plan that some days I would find over here or somewhere down the road. We put it all in one place. Through the Breaking Ground or Battleground, we were able to network with other veterans who were they knew where they wanted to go, but they didn't know how they wanted to get there. Or they had a vision. Hey, I want to work in agriculture, but I've never been around it. So we said, hey, why don't you come on out to our place? We don't work cattle, but we'll show you the stuff that nobody wants to see. We'll show you the 4 o'clock in the morning windstorms where you have to go out there and check the fence rows because the fences are down. We'll show you that when there's a flash flood, you got to go out there and you got to check the water gaps. You know, we'll show you all that stuff. When the army worms come through and they take out your bottom field, when you can't get the equipment out there to get that last cut in the hay out because you're worried about how you're going to feed for the winter, because that's 60% of your operating cost right there. That's the stuff that they needed to see. You know, we'll show you the unglorious work. And through that, we've had 5 veterans come out to the place, just kind of give us a hand. More times than not, we chew the fat. That's what they need. They need somebody to talk to, chew the fat, walk around, do a little hands-on stuff. And that's what we do. That's the part that I got out of the Breaking Ground Battleground. It's the networking and putting all my eggs in one basket, so to speak. And I'll let my wife talk about some of the stuff that she got out of it. So,
I'm Theta. As y'all can clearly tell, I have my hands full keeping up with this one. The Battleground and Breaking Ground program has this great one small little piece of their program that just outshines everything, and that is the vet advisors. It's more than just mental health. It's staying grounded. It's finding who you really are and holding on to that. And it's not chasing the bottom dollar. It's all about figuring out who you are and what makes you strive as a person, what makes you rich in life. And that's not monetary. That's being able to get up every morning and fix your kids' breakfast and send them off to school and attend their events that night because you know while they're at school, you can work the animals, you can till up the ground, you can do whatever it is you need to do while they're in school and still be there for them. It's not being where you still have to work 2 jobs and missing everything, and you only get to see your kids through what they post on Instagram. So Vet Advisors helps you find that centering portion of it and being able to hold on to what truly matters most. And for us, that big component was family. We do have a special needs child, so Vet Advisors actually helped me with organization skills and not only dealing with the special needs child, which I had a grasp on, but also now dealing with my husband who's home full time, who every night, bless his heart, I love him, I do, but is underfoot now. I'm used to him being gone 9 months out of a year, and now he's home 24/7. That was a big adjustment for me. That was a huge, look, dear, this is how we do this. This is our routine. You're messing up our routine. But Vet Advisors was able, okay, well, let's look at these coping skills. Let's look at this adjustment skills. So like I said, it's more than just mental health. It's whole life health that Battleground and Breaking Ground was able to add into that mix, that component that I didn't even know I was missing. Because it was a lot of bumping heads, and it is kind of scary when you take 20 years of investments and you double down on a herd of bison and you let it ride. That is really scary, but that's what we did. And, you know, going into it, we knew what we wanted to do up here, but getting it out here so that other people could see, so that other people could say, oh yeah, that makes sense what y'all want to do. We'll give you a grant for this. Battleground to Breaking Ground helps you build that gap to get that formed in there. That's one of the ways that we actually got a fellowship fund through Farmer Veterans Coalition, was because Battleground to Breaking Ground helped us with that wording. They helped us get it on paper, and now, you know, we're able to not only mentor to other veterans, but one of the big things that we do is we host educational classes to high school FFA students. They're advanced animal students. They come out and they learn hands-on how to process a chicken and how to do it to where you're compliant with food safety regulations, you're compliant with food handlers regulations, and they're learning that major component before they even leave high school. So, you know, yeah, we work with vets, but we also are working with the veterans' children's to bring them into the program as well, so they know that agriculture is not a bad thing. It's not a horrible thing. It's a great thing to actually be a part of. So that's what I got out of the program.
And one last thing, there's 3 things that are certain in agriculture, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but if you're going to do agriculture, don't think it's all rose-colored. Divorce, disability, and death. Those are the 3 things that if you don't careful, those are going to be certain in agriculture. Take care of yourself. I worked myself into a back surgery, not taking care of myself and thinking that I can do it all. Divorce, if you and your spouse or you and your partner, your business partners aren't on the same page and it's not where everybody can understand it and see it, because nobody can get up here but you're going to ruin the operation right from the get-go. And death. You'll work yourself in an early grave, and it's no sense doing all that hard work for nothing. So, and it is possible to do it without taking, you know, loans from the bank. We did it. It was tough, and it's hard, but you can be a bootstrap farmer. There is a market out there for it. So, thank y'all.
Thank you, guys. So I'm really grateful for those guys. Yesterday I was looking at the program and what I wanted to do and what I want to talk about, and I just asked him when I ran into him yesterday. I said, hey, you know what? You guys are way better at talking about this and telling people about your experience than I am. Will you hop up on stage and tell them? And they're like, sure, yeah, okay. And I'm always grateful for them just jumping in and being able to do that. So I know we're running a little short on time. So real quick, I wanted to recognize we've got folks from Cohort 2, Cohort 3, Cohort 4, Cohort 5, and Cohort 6 in this room today. So if you have been through the Phase 2 and or Phase 3 part of the Battleground, would you stand up? We're going to give you a hand. And so if you actually want to know about the program from their standpoint, ask them. There's a couple more wandering around here. And so you can visit our table. We're at Farmer Veteran Coalition Texas booth. Agribility, our Agribility folks are in the room over here with Mackenzie, and just visit. Last thing I want to mention is the applications for cohort 7 are open now. So if you're interested in the Battleground to Breaking Ground program, hop on our website. It's the txagribility.tamu.edu. If you missed that, we have a card. Just jump on there, follow the instructions, apply if you want to. Most of the education's online, so you can attend it from anywhere. So I think that's it. I don't think we have time for questions, but you can catch up with me later. So, but if you do, please stop by, because we are family, and we do want you to be successful, and we'll help you get applied if you want to do that. So, all right, thanks, you guys. You ready? One of my favorite people in the whole world, though he does get me in a small to large amount of trouble, depending on the day, is Mr. Steve Smith with Farmers Assisting Returning Military. I think we've been good friends since the first time we met in Dallas. He was a speaker at one of our Battleground workshops.
That was my first speaking engagement.
Hey!
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So he's awesome. The things they do for veterans. I didn't know people could give as much to another person as these guys did. They really set the bar for helping veterans and giving your all, and even opening your home or picking them up anywhere in the country to get them out there farming and ranching. And he's been a good friend, and I'm excited to introduce him. All right, Mr. Steve. Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for having me up here. I'm super impressed by this every year. Because this whole room's full of people, like-minded people, family, veterans, and everybody that farms that's in this room always wants to give back to veterans. And it's just like a repetitious thing that I have run into since I met Michael a long time ago. So I got into this whole thing because I was dealing with some health issues of my own. A buddy of mine got out of the military. This is back in, I guess, 07, 08 time frame. And we started tearing up our yards and gardening, basically. And we found it kind of fun and rewarding. And 6 months in, James, with his TBI, PTS and everything, he used to wear this vibration device on his arm that would tell him when to go to the VA because he couldn't remember, or when to take out the trash, and when to pick up the kids. And 6 months of gardening, 8 hours a day, he could rip that off, threw away a bunch of meds, and we're kind of like looking at ourselves going, we're not better, but we're better, And we were goofing around one night around a campfire with a bunch of people from the neighborhood who happened to be chefs and foodies and beer guys and distillery guys, and they're like, what you guys are doing, if you want to bring it down to the restaurant, we'll buy your stuff. So we started doing that and tinkering with ideas on how to start a business. And we started looking for opportunities in agriculture for veterans. And then Farmer Veteran Coalition pops up. So we contact Michael and his team, and they put us up in a hotel in Iowa, and we visited like 8 family farms. Farm-to-table meals every day. It was a great thing, but the coolest part of the experience was, you got all the knowledge and stuff, but there was, I guess, 20 or 30 vets there, and they all had the same story. Like, it was saving their lives, literally, And I got back to Texas, and we kind of just had this like big epiphany, like everybody does, and like, well, we're veterans and we're farmers, like, let's help other veterans, like what can we do around our community? And every time a vet would pop up in Texas back in the day, I'd get a call from FVSC chapter or in California, and they'd be like, there's this lady, Erin, she's, she needs a guest speaker. Can you go be a veteran speaker? Okay. There's a guy in East Texas, he's kind of homeless. Okay. And you start doing these things, and then eventually you realize, how can I make a bigger impact? Well, I went on another retreat to Philadelphia. That was even more fun. We got to visit the Rodale Institute with Michael because I missed my flight. And we went in there and had a good meeting. That was a really cool experience. But I remember at the end of that retreat, aside from they didn't feed us any meat the whole time, everything was cool. I remember driving down the road like the second day in or third day in, and I was kind of feeling it, like meat cravings, and like we were driving by a pulled pork stand, and I was just screaming at the top of my lungs from the back of the 15-passenger van, "Pull over!" But we did all the things, you know. It was a retreat that was very cleansing and vegan. But we always snuck out at the middle of the night and got a case of beer and sat around the parking lot and told war stories and cried on each other's shoulders and talked about our operations and everything like that. But I remember leaving the end of the retreat, and Michael goes, "So, what'd you think?" And I was like, "I'm gonna be a fucking farmer." I was like, my epiphany was right there. I was like, this is awesome. I love these people. I like this community. I like this job. It's challenging. It's rewarding. It's got regimen. It's got structure. It's got everything that I want. So we took it back to Dallas, and later on, we were, between 2008 and now, our unit has lost 13 members to suicide. So we just said, fuck it. We're going to not just be farmers. We're going to be whatever you're going to be, you know, helpers. And there's lots of people out there that all want to do the same thing. They want to help their brothers and sisters that are going through pain or trauma in any way they can. And I know that you all know that this is a healing sort of thing. You know, we ain't broken, but I think Michael said that once, you know, veterans aren't broken. Be careful. You know, because you guys are really strong. We are strong, but we need to be there for each other. And so when we created a nonprofit piece of our business, we didn't realize how impactful it was going to be. Divorce happened for James, just like he talked about. Other things happened to me. And next thing you know, we're leasing a place with 12 bedrooms. We got homeless vets in there and meth addicts, and holy crap, what did we get into? But by the time, you know, these guys were exiting, they didn't have any medications anymore. The meth was gone. The alcohol was, yeah, whatever. You can do, you can only do so much. I did a lot last night. I mean, I may be a little slow today, so. But we do our best, you know. But we saw really great results, you know. Inspired veterans that didn't have 6 or 7 prescription pill bottles were successes to us. Whether they became farmers or not. One guy became a golfer, which was crazy. Some guys just go off to college or find a girl they love, and they're like, yeah, I like what you guys are doing. Just call me when you need help, but I'm not necessarily going to be a farmer. Cool. We lost that farm. Went through that whole, you know, thing when you lose something that you put your heart and soul into, but came across another pretty cool opportunity, and we picked up a piece of property in downtown Dallas proper, like skyscrapers, like a half a mile away, you know, and we're sitting there in the middle of the city with this 3-acre parking lot now, and I got to figure out how to grow on top of a parking lot. So we got this big, huge soil engineering project that we're endeavoring on to where we can use the piece of property to not just train the veterans that go through our program, or we host workshops with Battleground or whatever, but veterans can come be the teachers too, you know. So after they're done being trainers, they can go out there and teach the community, and busloads of DISD kids come through and get to learn about what food is and well how important it is, and how not to waste it so much. You know, just really get a feel for what the farmer goes through. And once they grow a tomato and they spend $500 on a raised bed and that one tomato's looking pretty good, they ain't gonna throw it out. And they're gonna start thinking more about how much it really takes to grow that tomato and probably pay a farmer $3 rather than spending 500 next time, or maybe they get the bug and they grow a big garden and put a less burden on us, you know? Anyway, so we got this big, huge downtown project. If anyone wants to come visit, sling a little mud, see what we're doing. We're just up the road in Dallas. If you're from Texas, I know there's a lot of you here. Just give us a holler if there's anything we can do to help. Put up a greenhouse. We've been doing a lot of those lately. Yeah, that's like a barn raising. You know, like if you have a community of veterans in Texas, there's no reason we can't all support each other and be out there when it's time to pound pickets or fix a fence or put up a hoop house. Whatever you need, contact us. We'll put out the word. Aaron will put out the word. We're a big family here. And if you need help, like just straight up help, hands, let us know. I got nothing else, but I just want to say thanks to Michael for everything you've ever done for me and all these people in the room. It really means a lot.
Thanks, Steve. A lot of projects around the country in this last 6 years. In 2012, got a lot of phone calls at our office by 6 Senate offices asking what they could put in the Farm Bill and to help veterans. And by the time the third or fourth, I started realizing it wasn't really about they want to help veterans. It was about they want the Farm Bill to pass. And they thought, well, if they put these things in, nobody would vote against it. So there's a lot of great things in the Farm Bill, including them that I literally made up on the spot, and every one of them got written into law. But one of them was, which I think is probably the most economical lobbying campaign in history, possibly. But that some of the things that we did was the creation of the Military Veteran Agricultural Liaison Office. The microloan was something that came out of a conference when I first met Gary, and he asked me a question about, there was other people were advocating making farm loans easier for beginning farmers by taking away the 3-year requirement. And I said, you know, that's kind of like asking a doctor to go to less school. But what if we created a microloan? So the microloan got written into law. Veteran preference in NRCS for the EQUIP and the high tunnel programs. Veteran preference in conservation programs. We urged funding to go into the beginning farmer, rancher, and development program to set aside a percentage of that money to go to groups like the Battleground, Breaking Ground program that help veterans become farmers. We urge funding to go into the 2501 program for socially disadvantaged farmers and veterans, and made it the socially disadvantaged veterans and farmers and socially disadvantaged and veteran farmers and ranchers. And the list goes on, and it's really one of our best accomplishments. We made some real progress with the federal government, but where a lot really happens in agriculture is on the state level. And the real pioneer in state support for veterans in agriculture came out of West Virginia. And so I'm real honored today to introduce Kent Leonhardt, the Commissioner of Agriculture from West Virginia. Kent's not only the Commissioner of Agriculture, he's a farmer veteran himself. He's a Marine and a cattle rancher, and he really leads the states in the effort to get state support for veterans in agriculture, and we're really honored to have Commissioner Leonhardt here today with us.
Thank you, Michael. Wow, what a crowd. And I sat down there and listening to everybody else speaking. I had to miss a couple because I had to do a little bit of work here just recently, but my gosh, what an impressive group. And you all are right on the money on what's going on, and you've got your pulse, you got your finger on the pulse of everything that's going on, that what we need to do here in the United States. I want to just mention, Michael mentioned that, I retired from the Marine Corps in 1996, and my wife and I restored an abandoned West Virginia farm. The farm was abandoned in 1957. We brought that into production and we grew it. There was not a farmer veteran coalition around back then, and there weren't a lot of resources back then. So we made a lot of mistakes. Hopefully that organizations like this, as they get the word out, people won't make as many mistakes, and we can be successful, and we can make it easier for us farmer veterans to be successful. And so I want to just talk a few things. In 2012, I ran for Commissioner of Agriculture the first time. I didn't win. I lost by a few votes, few points. Nobody knew me, but I had heard about the Farmer Veteran Coalition through my son. He had sent me some articles. And I said, boy, this is a great idea. Let's get something like this started in West Virginia. So I started talking about it on the campaign trail. Like I said, I didn't win that time, but the gentleman who won, I give him credit, he went through to the legislature and he got a bill passed that created the Veterans and Warriors to Agriculture program. Now, I'm not real happy with the Veterans and Warriors because it kind of isolates some people. I wanted it just to be Veterans to Agriculture program in the state, but I'm afraid to open the code up for what they might try to stick in there just to change the name and make it better for where I believe it should be. But the legislature never funded the program at all in West Virginia. It was only after my second year in office, and I ran against the gentleman who beat me the first time, and I won. And we started trying to get funding for the Veterans program in the state of West Virginia. And finally, after 2 years, and now we're in the second iteration, we are funded with $250,000 of state money going to the Veterans program. So what have we done with that? We've obviously given some scholarships to training to some of the conferences around so that the veterans can get educated. We've hired a full-time coordinator for the Veterans program. We've hired another person who's an assistant director for agribusiness development at the Department of Agriculture, and half of her responsibility is to help the veterans in the state. And then we also used it to work with, you heard about the agritherapy at 10 VA hospitals around the nation, and West Virginia was lucky enough to get one of those, and that contract was given to the West Virginia Department of Agriculture, so we hired an individual that solely manages that. That has been so successful. We've run 5 programs now. We really aren't allowed to talk about a lot of who was in there and what's going on, but we know it was so successful. Another VA hospital within the state of West Virginia has contacted our office just a couple weeks ago and says, we've heard about it, we want to duplicate it here, how do we do that? Of course, we had gotten $400,000 out of the federal government to do that one in Huntington, and we're going to try to work with folks and try to get that up going, and hopefully it'll spread throughout the state of West Virginia. And I know Texas has the most veterans, but per capita, I think we beat you. Our population just isn't as large as the population of Texas, but we're working on that. So, you all understand, and that's why I love being here, the Farmer Veteran Coalition, you understand the mission and success. And we've heard a lot of people talking about, you got to make money, right? So I want to tie this all into 3 things for you a little bit. I want to tie in what you all are doing. First is the health. The second is certainty and regulations. And the third is security. And security can mean a lot of things, whether it be food security or national security. So when I talk about health, let's talk about health first. The local food movement, and big agriculture is not going away. We are feeding the world. We're doing better and better at it. But there's also a lot of farmers that want to do that niche marketing. And I say West Virginia because we aren't the big flatland plains. We are going to become a cornucopia of niche markets. So if you want to do niche markets, come to West Virginia. We've got multiple climates with all our hills and streams and valleys. We've got great water. We've got great people. And we're only 1 day's drive from 60% of the population of the United States. We're ideally situated for that niche marketing in the agricultural world. So as we do this thing, and the average meal I found out in West Virginia travels 1,500 miles. Every time food changes hands, there's a degradation in nutrition value. There's an increase in a chance of contamination. There's an increase in chance of that contamination not being unintentional as well, as we know. And as a Marine intelligence officer, I think about these things from time to time. How do we make sure that we eat from a safe, affordable, and abundant food supply? That's my role as Commissioner of Agriculture. So I'm talking about the health. Obviously, that food that doesn't travel as far is going to be more nutritious. We've got to change the eating habits. We can change the health of the citizens, not just in West Virginia. You all can change the health of all Americans in all of your states by what you do and how you do your practices. That's number one on the health. Number two on the health, I think it's good health for the economy of our state. Those dollars stay in West Virginia and they turn. And that creates economic development and opportunity in West Virginia. It'll do the same in your state. And you're not really competing with each other because everybody has to eat. And that market is getting bigger and bigger, and people are becoming more and more aware of what's going on. Not only is it changing the health of the economy at the same time, but think about the health care costs that we can save. In West Virginia, they got rid of the cooks in the school. It's all heat and serve. Then we wonder why we have an obesity problem and we have a diabetes problem in our state. Now, we're not going to solve this. I'm not going to solve it I'm in my first term. I'm not going to solve it completely in my second term, but I'm going to start the state down that road to where we start doing more of the farm to table and the farm to school things. Because it really is, when you talk about health of the economy, it's the dollars turning and it's the saving in health care. And we do have a health care crisis in the United States, as everybody knows. And then the third thing is, nobody talks about it, but agriculture really can be good health for the environment. With the new technologies, whether it be hydroponic or aquaponic or high tunnels or greenhouses, the less exposed soil we have, and we're growing what's healthy for us, that's helping the environment, the less runoff that we need. Precision agriculture, and even the larger farms are doing more and more with precision agriculture. That's good health for the environment. West Virginia, doing it voluntarily, is the only state meeting the needs, the requirements of the Chesapeake Bay Watershed Implementation Plan. And we're doing that voluntarily. We're going out and talking to the farmers. This is how the best way to do your practices. My department does nutrient management on 93,000 acres of farmland that's in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, so that the farmer's only putting on exactly what he needs. Wait a minute, aren't we helping with the economy of the farm at the same time doing that? And we're not wasting resources. We're helping the farmer to be successful. That's the goal of my department. We are 90% a regulatory agency, and 10% business development. But we are changing the attitude. We want to educate before we regulate. We want to bring people into compliance. We want to bring people into helping you provide a safe, affordable, abundant food supply. And that's what all you're going to do. Let's talk about certainty a little bit. You all already know this. The certainty that you deal with, we have to have certainty in regulations. You already deal with uncertainty in weather. You deal with uncertainty in market conditions. You deal with uncertainty in supply and demand, and you don't know whether this guy's growing all the beans at the same time you're growing, and your prices are going to drop, and you're not going to make any money on them this week. We have to make sure that we get some certainty, at least within the laws, and working with your legislators. And I encourage you to talk to your legislators. And I know I go out there, and I've talked on RFD TV twice on panels. They've invited me to talk, and I keep saying to the federal government, we need certainty in regulations. You know, we need to have a level playing field like in the hemp world, because every state was pitting each other's state against each other on what the regulations to grow industrial hemp. We have to make sure we have a level playing field so that all states are equal and we know what to expect. You need certainty in whether it's an environmental law. You don't want to have one bureaucrat interpreting it one way and shutting you down and letting somebody else go somewhere, saying it's not a problem. You need certainty. We see it within our health department in our state when they go to the farmers markets. We got some farmers here that'll tell you that they're having some difficulty with the health department folks. Each county is interpreting things different way. We have to continue to work to get certainty in the regulations so that we can be successful. And we don't have to worry about it. You got enough to worry about. You don't want to worry about the regulations. You want to make sure that your departments of agriculture are helping you come into compliance. You want to be educated before you get regulated. And then let's talk about security. You all served. We all served. We were doing it for the security of our nation. There's two things you don't want your enemy to have. That's control of your food supply and your energy. Now, we can't do a whole lot as farmers about the energy side of things, other than talk about it. But what we can do is we can make sure that we have a secure food supply for our nation. 60% of the meat processing in the United States is now controlled by foreign entities. 60% of the meat processing is controlled by foreign nations. That scares me, folks. We have got to get back to where Americans are controlling things. My friend from West Virginia talked about country of origin labeling. We've got to make sure, again, that's a certainty thing as well as a security thing. We have to make sure that we're doing these things. So whether you know it or not, you think you got out of the military, you retired or discharged or whatever, you're still serving your nation. You're providing that safe, affordable, abundant food supply to the citizens of West Virginia, and there's no more important job than that. And I commend you all for being a part of that system. So I had these notes. I haven't looked at it once. I don't even know where I am. Other than being on stage at the Farmer Veteran Coalition. I'm so thrilled to be here. I'm going to be here through the rest of the conference and tomorrow morning as we work on a West Virginia chapter to strengthen your organization in West Virginia. And we're so glad to be partnering with the Farmer Veteran Coalition. You know what I look like now? If you got any questions or comments, please feel free to come up and talk to me. I'd be glad to discuss any of the issues we just let out. But keep on doing what you're doing. You're doing the right thing. Go out there. You got to make money. You've heard that a number of times, because if you're not making money, you're not going to be here next year. And then you're not going to be doing what you all so aspire to do, is continue to serve your nation. So thank you all very much for what you do, and thanks for having me here.
We got one last thing before we take a quick break and get to the breakout sessions. I'd like to invite up Farmer Veteran Carl Kamen and his wife, Angela.
Well, I'd like to say thank you for a great opportunity to be here today. And a week and a half ago, I was in the hospital, VA hospital, for about a week for pain management stemming from a VA service-connected injury. So I had to make a decision whether or not I could come here today. And I made the decision that I would not miss the opportunity to be here with my brothers and sisters. So I said a prayer and said, Lord, help me make it. So I'm here. I've heard so many great stories that really inspired me. And I kind of started to feel better since I've been here, especially hearing the stories of the men and women who've been having PTSD and all these other ailments stemming from military service. And I said, you know what? I asked, could I sing a song on behalf of all the veterans here today? And they granted me this opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Gorman, and for this opportunity. So I'm going to sing America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crowned thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for pilgrims' feet, whose stern, impassioned strains a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God mend thine every flaw, confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Oh, beautiful, for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every grain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriot dreams that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crowned thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.